And by the time I got back in to see him, it was April of this year. Well, I got into the chair and he goes, "Your eye pressure is down to 12 in each eye." And he goes, "That is unheard of."
Deb, how did you find Carnivore?
Hi, Dave, and thank you for having me. To be perfectly honest with you, I wasn't looking for it. It just happened. I had, at the end of July of 2023, I came down with some bug and I was kind of down and out for the whole weekend on the couch. And I was just scrolling through YouTube and came across Dr. Obadiah and his one video on stay off my operating table. So I clicked on it just for something to watch, and he started talking about carnivore. Well, from there, the algorithms picked up um, uh, carnivore and low carb and everything else. And I had been suffering since likely about March of 2023, something going on with my GI tract. I do have a nursing background. I was an RPN here in Canada. And so I was going between IBS and diverticulitis. It was one of the two. I'm not sure which. I never went and got a medical diagnosis because basically I lost faith in my doctor about 7 years ago in 2017. So I was just kind of self-diagnosing, and um, I kind of came to the conclusion it was one or the other. My mom did have diverticulitis, and my son does have it, with diagnosis from a medical professional. What I found was I was either very constipated or very, very loose. And it got worse over the summer. The loose part, it was pure water. It just burnt and it stung. And I know my diet wasn't the greatest at the time. I'm kind of a junk food addict. Love my chips, love my cheesies, love anything that's not good for you. Um, anyway, so this bug I got on the long weekend at the end of July had pretty much emptied out my guts on the Friday because I had been vomiting and diarrhea and everything else. So I was sticking to Gatorade, which that's not good either, but I was diluting it um, and have been drinking that pretty much all weekend. So when I found this video on the Saturday and started watching all these carnivore ones, well, then the next guy I hit was Homestead Hal, Kerry Mann, and he had talked about having IBS. So I thought, what have I got to lose? Nothing. So Monday I jumped in cold turkey. No idea at all what I was doing, which probably wasn't a good thing, and I would not recommend that to anybody. But yeah, so I jumped in. I even cut out coffee for the first 3 days, but then I got a massive headache, and now I brought coffee back in. I do like my 1 cup a day, first thing in the morning, and now I add butter to it, my bullet coffee. Yeah, so that was Monday morning. I jumped in. I sent you a pic where that first about 8 days I was sick. It was almost as bad as the whole flu thing I had going on the weekend. But I hung in there and kept at it and basically just went to beef, butter, bacon, and eggs that first little bit. And I'm telling you, within those first 8 days, my GI tract cleared right up. I was fine. Been fine ever since. No issues at all. So their thoughts on fiber and Metamucil, which is what I was taking to bulk up my stools, was just doesn't work. Yeah, so I had been taking Metamucil prior to that to help bulk up my stools, as they recommend you do. Certainly wasn't helping. It never did a darn thing. Um, with all the loose movements and everything, I was getting hemorrhoids, and boy, did they hurt. And so yeah, so once I started doing this beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, I was fine. Everything just went right back to the way it should be. There was a few health issues that I've been dealing with over the years, and I blame it on genes and hereditary. Not sure that it is now. I mean, once you start learning about the proper diet, you wonder if you couldn't have fixed it. I was diagnosed in when I was 39 years old, so we're talking 27 years ago, with wet macular degeneration. which ran in my mom's side of the family. I think all of her siblings, and there was 5 of them except one, had it. And then it seemed to be that every offspring, the oldest one seemed to get it. So, and a bunch of my cousins are dealing with it as well. I probably had the most severe case because I started so young. I've had laser surgery done to my right eye, and that was back before they just came up with all the new drugs that they finally invented. But the laser surgery is, to give people an idea of what it was, it's if you get a nosebleed and you can't stop it and they go in and cauterize it, that's what they did to my right eye. Because what happens with wet macular degeneration, blood vessels start growing where they shouldn't, and they leak, and then that damages your rods and cones, and it gets rid of your center vision. So my ability to read is way down. Like, I need readers and I have to really focus, and lost my driver's license back in 2004 because the eyesight was so poor. But anyways, they did my right eye with the hot laser. So basically they cauterized those leaking blood vessels. And then I think about 3 months, that was in 98, I believe. And then about 3 months after that, my left eye started leaking, and they couldn't cauterize it because it was too close to my center vision. If they would have, it would have burnt a hole permanently in my, because that's what happens, a hole gets burnt in your eye. It was too close to center vision, so they couldn't do that. So he opted for a cortisone injection. I don't know if you've ever sat in a doctor's chair and watched a great big huge needle coming at your eye, but it's not very pleasant. So I'm not sure, it did dry up the pool of fluid that I could see there. However, it also gave me a cataract. So I've got a cataract now on my left eye and a smaller one on my right. Right now, they don't need to be removed. They haven't grown much, so I'm not sure when that'll happen, but maybe not. Maybe I can hold it off with Carnivore. That's what I'm hoping. Anyways, there was a doctor over here in Canada. Her name was, and she's in Ontario actually. Her name was Dr. Patricia Harvey, and she was coming up with a new treatment plan called Visidyne, and that stopped this hot laser therapy from happening. And what it was a light activated blood clotting thing. So I think I had 3 treatments of that, and 2 in one eye and 1 on the other. Kind of losing track. I got a referral to her in 2000. So she had been my retinal specialist till 2000. From then until 22, and unfortunately she passed away from cancer in 22. So I don't have a retinal specialist anymore, but I was also diagnosed in 2019 with glaucoma. So if anything could happen to my eyes, they seem to be getting it. So after she passed, I needed to find somebody else. So I've got an ophthalmologist now here in my town. So I went to see him, and the eye pressure in my eyes was 21 and 22. And then, but I noticed that my eyes were starting to really burn. I had to be on nighttime, bedtime drops for the eyes. But I noticed in the mornings they were so dry and so sore. I asked him if I could stop them to see if that was what the issue was. So he said, we'll try it, but monitor you in 6 months. Well, in that time frame, so that would have probably been from about April of 23 until I started Carnivore, which was August 1st of 23. And then my next appointment was supposed to be October. Unfortunately, he canceled it. In the meantime, I'm also now on Carnivore. And by the time I got back in to see him, it was April of this year. Well, I got into the chair and he goes, your eye pressure is down to 12 in each eye. And he goes, that is unheard of. I said, really? He said, what did you do? And I said, I just changed my diet. I didn't go into much detail because so many doctors are kind of don't believe you. But anyways, yeah. So the glaucoma is gone. Drops are stopped. I don't need any.
So that's 22 to 12.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Down to 12 in each eye. It's unbelievable. And they were 21 and 22. I can't remember which one was which, but yeah, he said it's unheard of. He said, yeah, I've heard them drop sometimes, but usually only with drops. So yeah, that's good. Glaucoma's gone. So now I'm hoping. I've been watching the Carnivore eye doctor on YouTube, and lots of people are having success with either delaying the cataract thing. Some say some have regressed a bit. We'll see about that. As far as my wet macular goes, I haven't had an episode since 2013. I had quite a bit of stress that year, and my partner had passed away, and I think just the stress got to me, and I was eating terribly because now I'm on my own. So meals for me are like bowl of cereal. Cheerios is heart healthy, right? Or mini wheats. But yeah, so there hasn't been leakage since then. And my last visit with the ophthalmologist said it's looking good. Doesn't look like there's any growth of anything going on. So I see him again in 6 months. But that was just one of the little hereditary problems I got. And then I used to get chronic bronchitis quite a bit as a child. And my mom ended up, when she passed away, she had severe COPD. And as she always liked to say, she never smoked a day in her life, which was true. She never did, but she had COPD. She was on puffers, inhalation treatments, 24/7 oxygen, and prednisone. So, yeah, it wasn't looking good. And then I kept every year, every winter, I would always get uh, a cold of some sort, usually bronchitis, knocked me down for a couple of weeks. I didn't always go to the doctor because I didn't want to be on antibiotics all the time. But I usually just let it ride its course and dealt with it. But in 2017, I came down with a cold about the first week in January, and I couldn't shake that cold at all. It just kept coming back. It might let up for a week, and then she'd be back again. And in March, I went in. She put me on puffers and antibiotics, and it did its trick for a little bit. But by May, I was down and out again with it. Just couldn't shake it. And then, of course, I was thinking the worst because your brain goes there, right? But she never sent me for chest X-rays or anything. Just kept prescribing. So I went through 2 doses of antibiotics and 2 rounds of puffers, and she wanted to put me on prednisone. And I said, nope, not going there. Not at this time. I saw what that did to my mom, and I just thought, I know mom needed it to breathe. I understand that. But I thought, I'm also 20 years younger than my mom at this point. I don't want to start that stuff if I don't have to. So I think it was December of that year of 2017. Um, a friend of mine said to me, have you heard about a natural drug called serapeptase? And I said, no. And I said, so she said, research it. So I did. And I think it's the protein enzyme from the silkworm. So I picked it up. I got a bottle. And I'm telling you, within 3 days, my cough left me. Totally gone. And since then, I never really had a bad cold. I might come down with a head cold once in a while, but nothing major. But it was also since 2017, I took one daily. And if I thought I felt I was coming down with a cold, I just increased it. Now, having said that, it helped my cough. It never got rid of the shortness of breath. I could never, if I was doing exercise, I'd become really short of breath. So it never improved that. It just got rid of the cough for me. And so I kept taking that because after my little falling out in 2017 with my doctor, I started to gravitate towards natural supplements. So I was on quite a whack. The eye doctors had also recommended eye vitamins to take, Vitalux and that sort of thing. So I was taking the Vitalux, serapeptase, magnesium, because I do get leg cramps quite easy. And that is even still a problem today. So magnesium and my electrolytes are keeping them in check. Calcium, anything that omegas, and in winter up here, of course, I take vitamin D3 and K2. It because of the lack of sun in Canada, but anyways, So yeah, so the serapeptase was part of my regular routine. Well, then once I started carnivore, I stopped taking it to see what would happen. No problem, no issue. I made it through this winter with not a cold, nothing. So and my breathing, that's the big thing. It has improved. I guess whatever inflammation was in my lungs has left because I can now do hills, do climbing. Went to Costa Rica in February for the winter this year. And of course, in Costa Rica, you go down to see the waterfalls, and there was 257 steps down. Well, that means 257 coming back up, which I did with no problem. I totally, a year ago, I couldn't have done that. There would have been no way.
So
You know,
sorry to interrupt, but just to clarify, so when you started taking that, sorry if I mispronounced this, the serapeptase,
yep,
that cleared up the bronchitis issues you were having, but you still had shortness of breath that you couldn't get over.
that's correct. Yep,
And then once you started carnivore, that shortness of breath has gone away.
that's right. It's all totally
Wow.
gone. I can, I live on a bit of a hill here coming, so when I walk my dog, um, when I come out bit, but I used to always have to slow down. Now she legs behind me now. I'm the one that powers up the hill, and she's kind of going, "Okay, mom, slow down." But yeah,
Wow.
so serapeptase has gone by the wayside, and pretty much the only supplements I take now are the electrolytes and the magnesium. And because I don't eat a lot of fish, even though I like it, it's just not something I eat a lot of. I take cod liver oil and kelp for iodine. So those are the only few things that I take. So it has improved dramatically that way. I even got rid of the Vitalux. So for the doctor to say for me that my pressure has dropped down to 12, it wasn't thanks to the vitamins because I'm done now.
Wow. So you're all also coming up on a 1 year anniversary, right?
That's correct. I'll be August 1st.
Right. So like how have you been eating in the last year to that's
When I
helps you get
started
these
this,
improvements?
I was pretty much the 3 meals a day. I was still in the routine of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now I'm down to two. That's usually what I stick to, and it's usually a window between 9 and 5. I'll start off with a really hefty breakfast, probably 4 eggs, lots of bacon, um, smothered in my butter mayo that I make. I found out quickly that as women, we seem to need more fat for whatever reason. But like I said, my coffee in the morning, and I only have 1 cup, and it's got butter in it, bullet coffee. Then my breakfast, and then I'm good till about 3 or 4, and then it'll be meat of whatever I choose that day, and sometimes eggs thrown in again. But I can pack away about a pound and a half of bacon or meat, so I eat a fair bit. But I'll do a lot. I actually prefer. I eat steak, but I actually prefer ground beef. So I'll whip that up with a couple eggs in it, and that'll be my power bowl for the day. So yeah, and I'll make patties, and I make something called a breakfast muffin, which is nothing to do like a muffin, but it's meat on the bottom and then scrambled egg and a wee bit of cheese. I can handle dairy. I just try not to overdo it, like probably about 4 times a week for that. I don't like to do too much. But the harder cheeses are like the aged cheddar and the Parmesan. The harder ones seem to be a bit better. But and then at bedtime, I was having a lot of trouble, have had for years with sleep issues. So actually, I was on CBD at night. But then once this trip was coming up this past February, I knew there was no way I'd be taking my CBD with me. So I went off it during the carnivore phase. So, but my sleep really didn't improve a whole lot. It was sporadic. So lots of times, like about 4 nights out of the week, I'd be up between 2 and 4, 4:30, 2.5 hours prowling the house, not much to do. I just couldn't get back to sleep. Now I'm finding that it's maybe one night a week. So in that regards, it has improved a lot. I discovered last week somebody recommended that sometimes to take butter just before bed. So now I take a tablespoon of butter in hot water and drink that just before bed. And for the last 3 nights, I've slept like a baby right through till 6:30 is usually my waking time. So that has been a good improvement.
Yeah, I mean, that must be quite a life-changing thing for someone who's suffered sporadic sleep for so long.
Oh, it is. I used to quite a few years back. I used to do a bunch of digital designing. So between the 2 and 4:30 a.m. period, that's where you can find me on my computer doing design work. But I don't have to do that anymore now. So, but just being able to sleep through the night is a real joy.
So, I mean, given the results you've had, it sounds like this first anniversary coming up is going to be the first of many.
It certainly is. I'm not going back. There is one little product I do allow myself, and it's called Keto Chow. But what I do with that is I make fat bombs. So it's just butter and a little bit of coconut oil. And that's kind of what I consider my treat. I know we don't probably need them, but again, because women seem to need more fat, they're kind of my go to after a meal. I'll pop a couple of them in. So it's not something I've stepped out. I haven't really cheated as per se as far as junk food goes at all. Um, I do have the odd beer. It's summertime here, right? It gets hot. But other than that, I really haven't deviated from sticking to my meat, butter, bacon, and eggs. I seem to go through an awful lot of eggs, but that's okay. It's probably one of the
Yeah.
cheaper things on the menu than anything.
So, actually, how many eggs would you be eating in, say, a week?
In a week, I'm probably six a day. So 6 times seven is what? 42? Yeah, something like that. I'm going over just over 3 dozen a week. So
Yeah.
somewhere in that range.
So this always makes me laugh when I talk to carnivores and they talk about the number of eggs that they eat. And then you go on to, a vegan site like nutritionfacts.org and it says 1 egg a week is equivalent to smoking a packet of cigarettes or
Oh yeah.
something like that.
Good luck with that one. Yeah. I did have all my blood work checked. I went to a naturopath this past year. So in April, I had all my blood work come in. Everything was fine. Fasting glucose was 4.6, I believe, and my A1C was 5.2. Everything else was within range, but not in their eyes, not my cholesterol. So she wrote out, or didn't write out, she recommended a bunch of supplements. So I took a look at them online, and I'm telling you, about the three that she ordered would cost me like about 110 a month. And I said, no, not going there. So no,
So,
I didn't take any.
just out of interest, was the cholesterol exceptionally high, or was it just higher than the kind of the guidelines?
Which one do they perceive as the bad? The HDL?
The
Yeah,
LDL.
yeah, that one was up a little bit, but the triglycerides were right where they were supposed to be. So I actually came home and there's a doctor, I think his name is Eric Berg. He talks about remnant cholesterol.
Yeah.
And it's basically doing a calculation. So just out of curiosity, I converted from Canadian measurements to the US and then did the numbers. And according to his chart, anything less than 17 is optimal. So when I got done figuring it out, my numbers came in at 7.74. So I would say I was more than optimal. So at this point, I'm not even concerned about it. I'll just
Yeah.
keep doing what I'm
Nice.
doing.
Yeah. So what about people around you? Has anyone commented on
Um,
this crazy
everybody
diet?
everybody around me can't believe the way I eat because of the amount of fat that I'm ingesting, and it's always the first thing is, "What about your cholesterol?" So I just say I don't worry about that anymore. Um, they took a bit. I think what the big thing was, I just happened to be one of the types that lost weight dramatically and fast. Um, I lost 38 pounds, so I've come down from 158 to 120. and I'm kind of holding in between 120 and 123. That's where I kind of fluctuate. So I figure my body, that's where it needs to be. I'm not worried about any more weight loss or anything else. I don't get on the scale very often, just maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, just to see where I'm actually at. Other than that, I don't really worry about it. So yeah, they saw all the weight loss, and they didn't see the other issues I was dealing with because it's not visual, it's internal. So yeah, but the minute I heard about my glaucoma being gone, I thought, no, this is where I'm going to be now for the rest of my life. So I don't want to end up with my mom's health conditions, and I hopefully can carry my eyesight for quite a bit longer yet. It gets kind of frustrating when you start to lose your center vision. I couldn't drive after 2004 anymore because it was so bad.
Mm.
But,
Has anyone shown interest around you? I mean, when you've lost so much weight, and
not really, no. A friend of mine, he never believed that not having carbs could do exactly what's happened to me, but now he's starting to understand. He was a bodybuilder, so he's got a bit of a different regiment background. Um, so he needed his carbs and whatnot, but that's gone by. Like, he doesn't do that now anymore. But yeah, so he never would have believed until he saw the results that I've been having. And like I said, with the eye thing, it's just, to me, that's worth everything. To not be losing your center vision anymore, or keeping it at least stable, that it doesn't deteriorate more. So, oh, and another success I've had as well, which again I was using a natural supplement for, my blood pressure. There is a natural supplement you can take, but then again, it's just like the other prescription drugs. It's only covering up. It's not getting to the root source. But since I've been carnivore, I'm good. It's right back down to where it should be.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So it feels like everything is just going back to exactly where it's meant to be.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I mean, it's been 66 years, so I'm not expecting. I guess what's happened has been miraculous, really. Um, I'm hoping there's other little improvements along the way. I don't suffer from arthritis or anything like that, which is a bonus. Oh, I guess another thing that has gone is cold sores. I used to get one every winter, but I didn't get one this winter, so I'm hoping that little virus has gone by the wayside. We'll see. That was good. They're painful, those things on your lip.
Yeah. Um, well, I mean, this is awesome, but I mean, especially the changes with your eyes that's just
Yeah, to me
fantastic.
that's worth everything that's happened. I mean, yeah, the GI was an issue too, the way it was going, but my eyesight, if I can at least stop the progression or maybe even see a bit of improvement, and saying goodbye to eye drops at bedtime is a bonus, because when you have glaucoma, as it progresses, you start off with that one at bedtime, and then there's a couple others that get thrown in. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you have to put them in every 4 hours. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. I never got that far, but I mean, that would have been the next step down the road if this pressure would have been creeping up, would have been more eye drops into the day. So I'm quite thankful everything that has changed for sure. So,
That's nice. Your cat's coming to visit us.
oh,
So
hi there, Tony. I've got a dog
so
around here somewhere too. She's hiding.
um so if you did have a friend that came to you and wanted to know how to get started with carnivore and how best to stick to it, what advice would you give them?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I've downloaded Dr. Ken Berry's low carb book that he offers out for free. I send them that link, and I highly recommend they start going that way first. Get rid of the processed foods, get rid of the sugars, the wheats, and watch what vegetables. Get over here, the cat. Sorry, and watch what vegetables don't cause the like the starchy ones and all that. He's got ones that he recommends. I certainly don't recommend doing it the way I did it, but you know what? I was sick for that week, and it was over and done with. But I had come off of being sick that weekend too, so it really wasn't. Uh, now that I look back, I'm glad I ended up going that way. But for anybody else, definitely just the processed foods, the sugars, and cut back on your carbohydrates. And like I said, I send them off with that ebook that he's got that you can download to read and figure out what they want to do. I've got there is actually one guy I reached out to who has MS. Now I haven't touched base with him, but I started sending him the videos of that girl that had MS in the UK, I believe. Now she's in Spain. About how it's reversed a lot of her conditions. So I sent him all those links. I, of course, sent all the doctor links and your channel. Start listening to all these interviews that you're doing. And I haven't heard back, so I don't know. He said, this seems pretty dramatic and it's not what they're telling me to do. And I said, I know, but what have you got to lose? That's the big thing. Your why and what have you got to lose at this point? Nothing, because there's nothing for MS in the medical community except to watch yourself deteriorate. I
Right,
mean,
that exactly. It's
I think
it's
they tried
that's a
that.
big question.
Yeah, exactly. I think they tried that. What was that shunt thing they were doing or something that Germany was trying, and it gave a little bit to open up the carotid or something. Can't remember exactly what that was, but I don't even think that's all that successful. So, and I did have one other girl reach out to me as well, and she was asking about it, but I've never heard if she got onto it or not. I guess I should reach out to them and see. But I mean, anybody that I just keep sending him your link on YouTube because there's so many people coming forward with results. And I mean, how can you not believe in some of this, really?
Yeah, I find it interesting. There's no channel dedicated to eat less and move more with lots of testimonials on it.
Yeah. Yeah, the more you hear, the more you think, okay, I'm on the right path. And really, I still go out with my friends and that when they want to go out to restaurants. If I can't get a steak or a hamburger minus everything, I'll just have a drink of water and that's it. And just sitting just to visit, social aspect. Um, Actually, sometimes when I watch all the food coming onto the table, it's like, yeah, I used to be a part of that, but not anymore.
How can people reach out to you? Do you have any social media or YouTube or
I'm
anything?
on Instagram. I sent you the link, I think, if you want to. YouTube, I don't do anything, but it's DMs there, I think 947 or something like that. But yeah, Instagram would be the best. Anything I post between Facebook and Instagram on Carnivore goes between the two. So it would be on there.
Awesome. So, Deb, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. I really
Oh,
appreciate your time.
you're welcome. And I really appreciate you doing what you're doing because it's opening up so many avenues that people can look at different things that are being resolved by this way of this lifestyle.